Chosen one, you are getting rich. I repeat, you are getting rich. Every day you have been trying so hard, and now the wealth is coming to you. Chosen one, you are not here by accident. This moment was arranged by heaven. This is divine timing, perfectly aligned with where your spirit is right now. You have endured long enough. You have carried pressure in silence. You have done the inner work, grown in awareness, matured in understanding, even when the reward seemed delayed. And yet something deep inside you has been waiting for a moment like this. Not just money, but confirmation. Not just success, but a sign that you were never on the wrong path. You have been searching for timing, for validation, for that quiet assurance that whispers, you didn't miss it. And hear this clearly, anointed one, you are standing at the edge of a supernatural breakthrough. Scripture says in Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 3 that the vision may take time, but it will surely come and it will not delay. This is that moment. A calm is settling over you now. Peace is replacing urgency. Relief is replacing pressure. You are beginning to understand why everything happened the way it did. And in that understanding, a quiet happiness is rising, the kind that says, oh, it's almost here. Chosen one, learning to take control of your money is not punishment. It is initiation. It is preparation for the wealth that is approaching you so you can receive it without fear and steward it in peace. If this resonates with your spirit, subscribe now to stay connected. Comment 777 as a sign that you are chosen, and write the date you are stepping into your season of prosperity. Chosen one, hear this slowly and let it settle in your spirit. The journey you are on was never meant to be rushed. Most people think transformation happens overnight, but heaven does not work on impulse. It works on precision. For many, this path takes years, sometimes a decade or more, not because God is slow, but because the calling is heavy, and wait requires strength, endurance, capacity. What you are walking through right now is not delay, it is training. I know this because I've lived it. There were seasons where progress felt invisible, where effort felt unrewarded, where it seemed like no matter how hard I worked, the breakthrough stayed just out of reach. And yet, looking back, every ounce of effort was doing something unseen. It was shaping discernment. It was breaking old habits. It was teaching me why I was stepping onto this path in the first place. Chosen one. If you do not understand why you are on this journey, you will abandon it the moment it becomes uncomfortable. And this path will test you not to break you, but to reveal whether you are ready to carry what is coming. You are not just learning about money, you are learning about stewardship, about responsibility, about who you become when pressure increases. Because wealth without understanding does not bring freedom, it brings bondage. That is why heaven is asking you to pause and ask deeper questions, not just what financial freedom is, but why it matters to your life, your peace, and your future. Scripture teaches that wisdom is the principal thing, and wisdom always comes before increase. Chosen one, let me be clear so there is no confusion in your spirit. This message is about money, but it is not about worshipping money. Money is not the center. Freedom is. Alignment is. Peace is. There are many things in life that matter deeply: love, health, purpose, relationships. But money has a unique power. It can quietly limit all of those things when it is mismanaged. That is why heaven is drawing your attention here now. Not to shame you, not to pressure you, but to prepare you. When I first began to understand these truths, it felt like a spiritual awakening, a sudden clarity. I realized that for years I had been living in cycles, earning, spending, repeating, without ever truly leading my finances. There were seasons when income was high, yet peace was low. Money came in, but nothing stayed. And that is when I understood earning money is not the same as controlling it. Without wisdom, money slips through your hands, no matter how much flows in. I remember looking at others, people younger than me, people who seemed to have discovered these principles early, and feeling a quiet jealousy. Not because they were richer, but because they were aware. They had been given language frameworks and guidance that I had to stumble into on my own, and chosen one. That is why I speak now with such conviction. Because if these words can save you years of confusion, years of trial and error, years of unnecessary struggle, then this assignment is already fulfilled. This journey asks something specific of you. It asks you to live differently for a season, not in deprivation, not in misery, but in intention. While others follow impulse, you learn discipline. While others spend to escape discomfort, you learn to sit with truth. And over time, this separation creates something powerful. You begin to approach a threshold where money no longer commands you, where you can finally say no, not from fear, but from freedom. This is what it means to reach a place where money serves you instead of ruling you, where you are no longer trapped by obligations that drain your spirit, where you can walk away from what diminishes your peace. I've seen it in real life, young people trapped in careers they hate, not because they lack courage, but because they lack financial breathing room. Passion without preparation becomes frustration. Dreams without structure become burdens. And money, when uncontrolled, becomes the invisible wall that keeps people stuck. Chosen one. Imagine for a moment what changes when that wall disappears. Imagine having the ability to choose work because it aligns with your values, not because it pays the bills. Imagine living in a place that nourishes your soul, not one chosen by necessity. This is the quiet power of financial freedom, not luxury, but choice, not excess, but sovereignty. And let me correct a dangerous lie right now. This path does not require you to suffer for years. It does not demand joyless living or constant sacrifice. I've walked this road long enough to tell you the truth. Quality of life does not disappear when discipline enters. It improves. Spending becomes intentional. Enjoyment becomes guilt-free. Peace replaces anxiety because you finally know where you stand. Chosen one. The core of this message is not wealth. It is freedom. That word has been echoing through your life for a reason. Freedom is rare, rarer than money. There are people with enormous bank accounts who cannot stop, cannot rest, cannot step away, because too many lives depend on their constant motion. They are wealthy, yet imprisoned. And that is why true wealth is measured by freedom of choice, not numbers on a screen. Here is the good news. Heaven wants you to hear the threshold of freedom is not as far away as you think. It does not require impossible sums. It requires clarity, a defined target, a number that represents independence, not retirement from life, but release from fear. When you know that number, you stop wandering, you stop guessing, you walk with direction. And understand this deeply, happiness does not wait at the end of this journey. It begins the moment your mindset shifts, the moment you stop chasing and start aligning. Even while you are still building, peace enters. Joy becomes quieter, deeper, more stable. You no longer live in panic about the future because you understand the process. Chosen one. Heaven is not just preparing to bless you financially, it is preparing to entrust you, to make you a steward who can handle increase without losing yourself. This is why this message comes now, not earlier, not later, now. Let this settle in you. Breathe. You are not behind, you are being positioned, and what is coming will meet you, prepared, not anxious, not rushed, but ready. Chosen one. There is something deeper you must understand now, and it may challenge what you were taught. Money itself was never the enemy. It never was. The danger was never money. The danger was allowing money to become the authority in your life. And this is where many sincere, hard-working people lose years without realizing why they feel trapped. They are not lazy. They are not foolish. They are simply untrained in mastery. I've seen it up close. I lived it. There were seasons where I did exactly what I was told would lead to success. I worked harder. I earned more. On the surface, everything looked fine, but internally, something felt off. The pressure didn't decrease. The options didn't expand. The freedom I thought money would bring never arrived. That was the moment I realized a sobering truth: earning more money does not automatically give you more control. In many cases, it does the opposite. Chosen one money is a force. And like any force, it either serves you or it controls you. There is no neutral ground. Scripture reminds us that no one can serve two masters. And while that passage is often spiritualized, its wisdom applies directly here. If you do not decide who is in charge, you or money will decide for you. Quietly, gradually, without asking permission. This is why so many people live in cycles. They earn, they spend, they repeat. They tell themselves they will start managing things later, once they earn more, once life slows down, once things feel easier. But ease never comes without order. And order never comes by accident. It must be chosen. Let me speak to something very practical, because prophecy without reality becomes noise. I have met countless young people who have never asked themselves the simplest financial questions. They don't know their minimum cost of living. They don't know how much they truly need to feel safe. They don't know where their money goes, only that it disappears. And this lack of clarity creates anxiety that spills into relationships, work, sleep, and self-worth. Chosen one, hear this gently but firmly. Ignoring money does not make you spiritual. It makes you vulnerable. There is a lie that circulates quietly that caring about money somehow makes you shallow or materialistic. That wisdom around finances means you are obsessed with wealth. That is false. Planning is not greed. Awareness is not corruption. In fact, proper stewardship reduces obsession because fear loses its grip. I've watched people confuse generosity with recklessness. They spend without boundaries and call it freedom. They avoid planning and call it trust. But trust without wisdom is presumption, and presumption always leads to crisis. When money is unmanaged, it becomes the hidden stressor behind many of life's conflicts. Marriages, strained dreams, postponed joy, diluted by constant worry. You've seen it too. Families arguing not because they lack love, but because they lack margin. People snapping at one another not because they are cruel, but because they are exhausted from financial tension. I am not saying money guarantees happiness. It does not. But I am saying this: when money is under control, one major source of suffering is removed. Peace has room to breathe. Chosen one. There are only two positions in this relationship. Either you manage money or money manages you. And when money manages you, it dictates where you live, what you tolerate, what you endure, and how long you stay silent. That is not freedom. That is quiet captivity. This is why heaven is calling you to maturity now, not later, not after the breakthrough, before it, because wealth that arrives before discipline becomes destructive. I've seen people receive sudden increases, bonuses, inheritances, opportunities, and lose it all within years. Not because they were cursed, but because they were unprepared. Money amplified what already existed. If there was chaos inside, chaos multiplied outside. Chosen one preparation is mercy. Delay is often protection. The waiting seasons you resented were not punishments, they were classrooms. In those seasons, heaven was teaching you restraint, discernment, identity. because the person you are becoming must be able to hold abundance without losing integrity. Think about this honestly. If tomorrow you received an amount large enough to change your life, would it expand your peace or expose your fears? Would it free you or reveal unhealthy attachments? These are not questions meant to shame you. They are invitations to grow. True financial control is not about spreadsheets alone. It begins with self-control, with knowing when to say no, with understanding the difference between desire and impulse, with learning that comfort bought on credit always costs more than it appears. These lessons are not glamorous, but they are sacred. They are rites of passage. I remember asking people a simple question, one that cut through illusions. If money were no longer a concern, if your needs were covered, would you still be doing what you are doing now? For many, the honest answer was no. And that answer was not a failure, it was a revelation. It revealed where money had been acting as a leash instead of a tool. Chosen. One, financial freedom gives you choice. Not recklessness. Choice. The ability to move toward what aligns with your soul, not just what pays the bills. The ability to walk away from what diminishes you without fear of collapse. That ability is rare, it is precious, and it is worth preparing for. This freedom extends beyond work. It touches where you live, and how present you can be in your own life. I've spoken with people who long to move closer to nature, closer to family, closer to peace, but felt trapped by income dependency. Money had quietly dictated geography, and geography had shaped destiny. When financial pressure is removed, doors open that once seemed impossible, and yet the essence remains the same. This journey is not about excess, it is about alignment. It is about restoring the natural order where money supports life instead of consuming it, where wealth becomes a servant to purpose, not a substitute for it. Chosen one. Freedom is the true luxury. Freedom of time, freedom of location, freedom of choice, and freedom requires structure, vision, intentionality. These are not restrictions, they are foundations. There are people with enormous wealth who cannot stop, cannot rest, cannot step back because their systems were built without boundaries. Responsibility has become a prison. I respect their diligence, but I also see the cost. That is why I say this with clarity. Those who possess freedom are the truly wealthy. And now here is the hope heaven wants to give you. The threshold of this freedom is closer than you think. It is not reserved for the elite. It does not require unimaginable sums. It requires understanding, a clear destination, a defined measure of enough. When you know what enough looks like, greed loses power. Comparison fades. Peace increases. This journey is not just transforming your finances, it is transforming your mind. And that transformation begins now. Not when the money arrives, but before it does. Chosen one. Now we come to a truth that quietly reshapes everything you thought this journey was about. Financial freedom is not a finish line you cross one day and suddenly feel complete. It is not a moment where life becomes perfect and struggle disappears. It is a shift in authority, a transfer of power, a restoration of order, and that shift begins long before the numbers change. Many people believe happiness is postponed until the goal is reached. They tell themselves, once I get there, then I'll rest, then I'll feel secure, then I'll be happy. But heaven does not design fulfillment that way. Fulfillment begins the moment your mindset realigns with truth. The moment you stop chasing money as a rescuer and start treating it as a tool. That is when peace quietly enters, even while the journey is still unfolding. I learned this the slow way. There was a time when I thought clarity would arrive only after I reached a certain level of income. I believed that once I hit that mark, the anxiety would lift. But what actually happened was this: the anxiety began to dissolve when I finally understood why I was building and how I was building. The pressure didn't disappear because of money, it disappeared because of direction. Chosen one direction changes everything. When you lack it, every setback feels personal, every delay feels like failure. But when direction is clear, even slow progress feels meaningful. You no longer panic at temporary discomfort because you know where you're headed. That knowing stabilizes your spirit. This is why heaven often withholds excess until clarity is formed. Not because you are unworthy, but because confusion cannot steward increase. Money amplifies whatever structure already exists. If there is no structure, amplification becomes chaos. That is not punishment. That is consequence, and heaven is merciful enough to teach before entrusting. There is a dangerous misconception that freedom means doing whatever you want, whenever you want, without limits. That idea sells well, but it destroys lives. True freedom is not the absence of structure. It is the presence of wise boundaries. Boundaries that protect your energy, your time, your future, your peace. Chosen one. Learning to control money is learning to respect yourself. It is learning to say, "This matters enough for me to be intentional." It is deciding that your future deserves more than impulse, that your calling deserves preparation, that your peace deserves protection. I want you to understand something very clearly. The joy on this path does not come from deprivation. It comes from alignment. From knowing that your actions today are cooperating with the life you are building. There is a quiet satisfaction that grows when you stop sabotaging tomorrow for comfort today. That satisfaction is deeply spiritual. It feels like integrity settling into your bones. This is why some people who appear to have less are actually more content. They have clarity. They know their limits. They know their needs. They know when enough is enough, and because of that, they sleep better. They argue less. They move through life with steadiness. That steadiness is wealth in a form many overlook. Chosen one. I have watched people live without this awareness, and the cost is heavy. Living paycheck to paycheck is not just a financial condition, it is a mental prison. When every month resets you to zero, your nervous system never rests. Your decisions become reactive. Your tolerance for unhealthy situations increases. You stay where you should leave. You accept what you should refuse. Not because you lack courage, but because you lack margin. Margin is sacred. Margin gives you the ability to breathe, to pause, to respond instead of react. And margin is created through discipline, not luck. Through consistency, not miracles. Miracles may open doors, but discipline keeps them open. This is where many misunderstand divine provision. They expect heaven to remove responsibility, when in truth, heaven increases it. Provision does not replace stewardship, it requires it. When Scripture speaks of increase, it almost always speaks of wisdom in the same breath. Because wisdom is the container that holds blessing without leaking it away. Chosen one, think about the environments you grew up in. Think about the stories you heard around money. For many, there was avoidance, silence, or shame. Money was either not discussed or discussed with tension. That environment shapes habits more than we realize. Avoidance becomes normal. Planning feels foreign. And because of that, people unconsciously repeat patterns they never chose. Breaking that cycle is not just financial growth, it is generational healing. When you learn to manage money with calm and clarity, you are not only changing your life, you are altering the emotional atmosphere of everyone connected to you. Stress decreases, conversations soften, decisions become less charged. That ripple effect is powerful. I want to speak directly to a fear many carry but rarely admit. The fear that focusing on money will somehow corrupt your spirit, that caring about finances will make you less compassionate, less faithful, less human. Let that fear go. Proper stewardship does the opposite. It frees you to be generous without anxiety, present without distraction, loving without resentment. When money is unmanaged, generosity feels like risk. When money is aligned, generosity feels natural. This is the difference between fear-driven giving and overflow-driven giving. One drains you, the other nourishes you. Chosen one, the world will tell you that freedom is about consumption, about having more, about upgrading endlessly. But that is a treadmill with no destination. Heaven's definition of freedom is simpler and deeper, the ability to choose what aligns with your values without fear of survival. That is the goal. That is the promise. And here is the truth many need to hear. You do not need to wait 10 years to experience peace. Peace begins the moment you stop lying to yourself about where you are and start honoring where you're going. Even as you build, joy appears. Even as you learn, confidence grows. The journey itself becomes meaningful, not just the outcome. This is why I chose to speak about this. Not because money is everything, but because unmanaged money quietly erodes everything, and managed money quietly supports everything. Health, relationships, purpose, presence. Chosen one, you are not being called to obsession. You are being called to maturity, to awareness, to leadership in your own life. And leadership always begins with clarity. Let this truth anchor you now. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not broken. You are awakening to responsibility at the exact moment heaven knows you are ready. And that readiness is what makes the coming increase safe. Breathe this in. Let the urgency soften into resolve, the pressure into purpose, the waiting into preparation. What you are building is not just wealth, it is a life that can hold it. Chosen one. Now we move into a place where many people quietly turn away, not because they are incapable, but because this stage requires honesty, radical honesty. The kind that does not blame the past, the system or circumstances, but looks inward and asks, am I willing to become the person who can hold what I am praying for? This question is sacred, and it is unavoidable. Heaven does not release responsibility without readiness, and readiness is not about perfection, it is about awareness. The awareness to recognize patterns, the courage to interrupt cycles, the humility to admit. Some of what has been blocking me was not external, it was internal. This is not condemnation, this is empowerment, because what you can see, you can change. I want to ground this in something real. There was a time when I believed my financial challenges were purely circumstantial. Not enough income, wrong timing, limited opportunities. And while those factors were real, they were not the whole story. The deeper truth was that I had never been taught how to lead money. I reacted to it. I avoided it. I hoped it would somehow arrange itself. But money does not respond to hope. It responds to order. Chosen one avoidance is subtle. It doesn't feel like rebellion. It feels like postponement. I'll deal with this later. I'll learn when things are calmer. I'll start once I earn more. But later keeps moving. Calm never arrives. And earning more without structure only magnifies disorder. Avoidance is not neutral. It quietly hands authority back to money. This is why so many people feel like life is happening to them instead of through them. Decisions are reactive. Emergencies dictate direction. Fear becomes a constant companion, and over time people normalize this state, calling it adulthood responsibility or reality. But chosen one survival mode is not maturity. It is exhaustion. True maturity is calm. It is clarity. It is knowing where you stand. That calm does not come from having unlimited resources. It comes from having defined systems. When you know your baseline, your margin, your direction, fear loses leverage. You stop being startled by life. You stop panicking at small disruptions. You become steady. I've seen this transformation firsthand. People who once lived with constant tension suddenly breathe easier, not because they became wealthy overnight, but because they finally understood their numbers. They stopped guessing. They stopped avoiding. They faced the truth, and the truth gave them peace. This is why Scripture teaches that truth sets free. Not because truth is always pleasant, but because uncertainty is far more damaging. Chosen one. Let's address a common misunderstanding. Control does not mean restriction. Control means choice. It means you decide where your money goes instead of wondering where it went. It means you allocate with intention rather than reacting with regret. This kind of control does not shrink your life, it expands it. There is a profound spiritual shift that happens when you stop leaking energy through financial chaos. Your mind clears, your body relaxes, your conversations change. You stop measuring yourself against others because you finally understand your own path. Comparison fades when clarity enters, and clarity brings confidence. Quiet confidence, not arrogance, not performance. Just a grounded knowing that you are moving forward even if the pace is slow. That confidence is magnetic. Opportunities begin to find you because you are no longer desperate. Desperation repels alignment. Calm attracts it. Chosen one. Many people want divine provision without divine order, but heaven is not wasteful. It multiplies what is organized. It increases what is aligned. This is why preparation often feels unspiritual to those who romanticize miracles. But preparation is spiritual. It is an act of faith that says, I believe what is coming is real enough to prepare for. Think about that. Preparation is belief in action. You don't prepare for something you don't expect. You prepare because you are convinced it is approaching. That is why this season matters so much. You are not just learning techniques. You are signaling readiness. I want to speak gently to another fear, the fear of becoming rigid. Some worry that structure will drain joy, that discipline will steal spontaneity. But the opposite is true. Structure creates freedom. When the essentials are handled, spontaneity becomes safe. Joy becomes guilt-free. Rest becomes possible. I learned this through experience. When I stopped living financially blind, something unexpected happened. I enjoyed life more. I spent with intention. I rested without anxiety. I gave without fear. Control did not harden me. It softened me. Because fear was no longer running the background of my mind. Chosen one. Unmanaged money has a way of infiltrating every area of life. It shows up in arguments, in sleep patterns, in health, in the inability to be fully present. But when money is placed in its proper role, life begins to reorganize itself around peace, not instantly, gradually, sustainably. This is where the prophetic meets the practical. Heaven's intervention often looks like wisdom awakening, like clarity replacing confusion, like responsibility feeling lighter instead of heavier. When you align with truth, grace supports you, not by removing effort, but by making effort fruitful. You are not meant to live on edge. You are not meant to dread the future. You are not meant to feel trapped by invisible constraints. Those feelings are signals, invitations to grow. And growth, while uncomfortable at first, always leads to expansion. Chosen one control over money is not about domination. It is about harmony. Money in its proper place is a servant, not a master. It supports your calling instead of distracting from it. It enables movement instead of enforcing stagnation. As you step into this understanding, something inside you will shift. You will feel less rushed, less pressured, less reactive, and in that calmer state, you will make better decisions. Decisions aligned with who you are becoming, not who you were surviving as. This is the posture heaven responds to, not panic, not striving, but readiness, steadiness, integrity. You are being shaped into someone who can receive without losing balance, who can grow without losing self, who can prosper without fear. Let this sink in. You are not preparing because you lack faith. You are preparing because your faith has matured, and that maturity is what makes the next phase possible. Chosen one. There is a moment in every true journey where understanding turns into embodiment, where insight is no longer something you agree with intellectually, but something you begin to live from. This is that moment. Because knowledge without integration remains theory, and theory alone does not change destiny. Alignment does. Up to now, you have been receiving awareness about money, freedom, responsibility, and preparation. But heaven is not only interested in what you know. Heaven is watching how you move, how you decide, how you respond when no one is applauding. Because the final stage before increase is consistency. Quiet, unseen, faithful consistency. I want to share something personal here because this is where many people lose heart. There was a season when nothing dramatic was happening on the outside, no breakthroughs, no visible wins, just daily choices, small adjustments, repetition, and I remember thinking, is this really it? But looking back, that season did more to shape my life than any sudden success ever could. It taught me how to remain steady without excitement, faithful without affirmation, focused without urgency, chosen. One wealth that lasts is built in those seasons, not when adrenaline is high, but when discipline becomes normal, when managing money stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like identity. You no longer ask, should I be intentional? You simply are. And that shift changes everything. This is why many people sabotage themselves right before breakthrough. The waiting exposes impatience. The repetition exposes resistance. The silence exposes whether the motivation was transformation or validation. Heaven does not rush this stage because this stage determines whether what comes next will bless you or break you. Let me be clear. Divine elevation is not just about receiving more. It is about becoming more grounded as you receive. Expansion without grounding creates instability. Increase without anchoring creates fear. But when grounding comes first, increase feels natural, safe, peaceful, chosen. One control over money becomes effortless when your identity is settled, when you no longer need money to prove your worth, when you no longer chase symbols to validate your progress. That is when money loses its emotional charge. It becomes neutral, useful, supportive. I remember the first time I realized money no longer triggered anxiety in me, not excitement, not fear, just clarity. It was subtle but profound. I could make decisions calmly. I could delay gratification without resentment. I could plan without pressure. That was the moment I understood that freedom had already begun long before the numbers reached their peak. This is the paradox many miss. The feeling they are chasing at the end of the journey is available much earlier once alignment is established. And alignment is a daily practice, a posture, a way of being. Chosen one, think about how you now relate to your finances compared to before. There is already more awareness, more presence, more intention. That is not small, that is evidence. evidence that the internal shift is happening, and internal shifts always precede external ones. Scripture often describes increase as something entrusted, not something seized. Entrustment implies trust, and trust is built through consistency. When you demonstrate that you can manage what you already have with wisdom and calm, you are signaling readiness for more. This is not mystical, it is relational. Even in human terms, we entrust responsibility to those who prove steady, not those who panic. Chosen one. There is a deep peace that comes when you stop trying to force outcomes, when you do your part faithfully and release the timeline. That peace is not passivity, it is confidence. Confidence that what is aligned will arrive without being chased. This is why controlling money is not about control at all. It is about cooperation. Cooperation with wisdom, with timing, with the life you are building. You stop fighting reality and start working with it. That cooperation multiplies results. I want you to notice something important. The more aligned you become, the less reactive your life feels. Problems no longer feel catastrophic. Delays no longer feel personal. You begin to interpret events differently, not through fear, but through discernment. And discernment is one of the greatest forms of wealth. Chosen one discernment protects you from unnecessary losses. It helps you say no when something looks attractive but carries hidden costs. It helps you wait when impatience would lead to regret. It helps you invest energy where it truly matters. This is how wisdom preserves increase. Many people think wealth is loud, dramatic, obvious, but true wealth often moves quietly. It stabilizes, it simplifies, it creates space. And in that space, life becomes richer in ways money alone could never achieve. As you integrate these principles, something subtle will happen. You will feel less urgency to compare your journey to others. Their pace will no longer threaten you. Their success will no longer diminish you, because you will know where you are going and why. That knowing is powerful. Chosen one. Your life is not meant to be governed by financial stress. Stress clouds judgment. It narrows vision. It shortens patience. Removing that stress is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself and those connected to you. And you remove it not by wishing, but by ordering your life. This is the final refinement before expansion, where habits replace motivation, where clarity replaces effort, where responsibility feels light because it is carried with understanding, not fear. Take a moment and feel the difference in your spirit compared to when you started listening. There is more calm now, more grounding, more certainty. That is not coincidence, that is alignment settling in. Chosen one. You are not just learning how to manage money, you are learning how to stand firmly in your life, to move forward without panic, to receive without guilt, to build without losing yourself. And here is the truth that completes this stage. When you are no longer desperate for wealth, you are finally ready for it. When peace precedes, increase becomes sustainable. When identity is anchored, abundance becomes safe. Let this be your posture now. Steady, clear, prepared, not rushing, not doubting, simply aligned. You are not waiting for wealth to arrive so your life can begin. Your life has already begun to reorganize itself in preparation for what is coming, and that reorganization is the greatest sign of readiness there is. Chosen one, as we come to the close of this message, take a moment and breathe. What you have received today is not information, it is alignment. Your spirit was not stirred by accident. Heaven has been guiding you step by step into clarity, into order, and into readiness. This is your kairos moment, the appointed time where understanding meets preparation, and preparation invites increase. Anointed one, know this with certainty, a supernatural transfer is already in motion. What has been delayed has not been denied. What has been forming in the unseen is now approaching the visible. As you have chosen to bring order to your finances, heaven is releasing peace to your mind, stability to your path, and favor to your future. You are not chasing wealth. Wealth is aligning with you. I speak blessing over you now. May wisdom guard every decision. May discernment protect every step. May provision arrive without fear, and increase come without strain. Stay faithful in the small things. Stay aligned with the rhythm of grace, and move forward with gratitude, knowing that what is unfolding will meet you prepared and unshaken. If this word settled in your spirit, stay connected. You may subscribe as a sign of alignment, and if you feel led, share this message with another chosen one. Let us walk this path together. Go in peace. You are ready. Your season is opening.